Also tonight, Minister of Justice Godfred Yeboah-Dame is asking the Chief Justice to permit more broadcasts of cases of immense national importance and not the Supreme Court cases alone. Till date, the presidential election petition of 2012 and 2020 have been the only cases open to the media for coverage in the law courts of the country. However, given the increasing spate of what he describes as the improperly examined commentary on cases in the courts, Godfred Yeboah-Dame says there will be a need to allow the cameras in court. When this is done, the AG believes that the poverty of legal reasoning behind certain cases dismissed by the Supreme Court, and particularly in respect of the cases which the state emerges the victor, will be exposed for all to see. The Attorney General was speaking at the opening session of the 2021-2022 Legal Year Bench, Bar and Faculty Conference.
I throw a challenge to the deans of the universities herein gathered to encourage the academia to which they belong to undertake proper examination and critique of judgment for publication in the review of Ghana law, rather than resorting to social media with ill thought through and improperly examined commentary on cases and other matters of national importance. Ghana cannot afford to gamble with its future by sacrificing the time-honored noble attribute to the legal profession on the altar of technology. Reflecting on these unhealthy developments I've spoken about, my Lord Chief Justice, sometimes I really think the way to go is to permit more broadcasts of cases of immense national importance and not the election petition alone. When this is done, what sometimes constitutes the poverty of legal reasoning behind certain cases dismissed by the Supreme Court, and in respect of which the state emerges the victor, will be exposed for all to see.
Well, so that's the reasoning of the Attorney General Godfred Yeboah-Dame. But what does the Ghana Bar Association think about this? Public Relations Officer of the Bar, Xavier Kuja, joins us now via Zoom. Xavier, thank you so much. So you've organized this conference, but first of all, help us understand this. Why is it usually the case that the courts are close to the cameras? What accounts for that generally?
Well, the courts are... Good evening, and good evening to everybody. The courts are not usually allowed coverage by cameras because, not for any special reason, but, court proceedings, aside that, when you come to court, there are certain procedures to be observed. So you don't just come in there with your cameras. You can't record and just come in there as you want. You can come and listen in as an individual or as a group without your cameras. So when the need arises for cases such as the election petition, for example, to be covered by cameras, it is made known to the public, and the journalists are allowed into the courtrooms. So recording court proceedings without the permission of the court are not generally allowed.
But we've seen some exemptions, at least for the 2012 petition and the 2020 cases as well, respectively. What accounted for that decision? What was the reasoning of the courts into that? And can't we apply that across board for all other cases?
Well, I wouldn't be able to tell you the reasoning behind the decision in allowing the cameras to cover those two particular cases. But as I said earlier, if special cases are made, to the Chief Justice, and he sees reason to allow the cameras to not be allowed.
Right.
So if the AG says that going forward, cases of national importance should be allowed to be aired or to be covered by the cameras, I don't think that is a problem or is something that we should shy away from, except that we should be able to define the category of cases that constitute cases of national importance. Once you're able to do that, right, I think we shouldn't have any problem.
But then he obviously is the concern is stemming from the fact that on social media, there's the increasing trend of attack on the judiciary. What do you feel is accounting for this? Is it only the fact that we have more people having access to platforms where they can vent their concerns?
I think it's not. I think that it's a matter of being disciplined. Let me put it that way. Excuse my language. Because as lawyers, we all know what to do. Nobody will prevent you from critiquing a judgment. We have a proper medium for doing that. It helps the education of everybody else, including lawyers. We are what we call the review of Ghana law. is published from time to time. If you listen to Attorney General carefully, for some time now, no publications have been done in those journals. Yet, we hear many things in the media, especially social media, by lawyers. So his point is that, look, let's channel that energy into critiquing judgments the proper way. Because by critiquing, you look at the merits and demerits of the judgment. You cite decided authorities on similar cases. And then you can conclude by saying that following all what you have cited, you think that the court ought to have ruled otherwise and not the way they did. But it appears that is not what is happening. Because what is happening now is more laced with emotions than reasoning and objectivity.
So the point is, what difference will the cameras make now if we introduce that into cases of national importance?
Well, because of the sensitive nature of those cases, just as the election petitions, that is why I believe he made such a suggestion. And I believe that it's not going just to be open to just any case, but cases of the scale of national election, the national election, the two national elections that were contested at the Supreme Court. That is why I earlier once said that if you're able to define or determine the cases to be covered by the cameras, then we shouldn't have a problem. Because it's not going to be a blank check for just any case to be covered. That wouldn't happen.
Would we need some guidelines from the court or perhaps the Office of the Chief Justice to guide, and that's assuming without admitting that the Chief Justice will consider this, do we need some guidelines on it?
Exactly so. That would be my suggestion. Because if not, you may end up opening the Pandora box, and that wouldn't work well for anybody.
Now, in recent times, we've also heard some members of the bar refer to the conduct of the judges as well, how some of them have not handled cases, particularly those related to political parties, very well. Don't you feel that increasingly the bench also needs to do something in terms of perhaps opening up and being more transparent into their reasoning?
Well, everybody has some form of opinion, but it is the way you express it that matters. And I can tell you the essence of today's event, which continues tomorrow, is to have interaction amongst lawyers who teach at the universities or work at the universities, or those are in academia, those at the bar, and lawyers who are judges. Every judge is a lawyer. So it provides a platform for us to actually do some introspection and brainstorm. And this is not the first time it's happening. I think the last time it happened was in 2019. Then COVID set in. It's actually supposed to be a calendar program or item,
right?
Or as far as justice delivery is concerned. Just that for the past 2 years, 2020, 2021, because of COVID, we couldn't hold it.
All right then. Would have to leave it here, but thank you so much for joining us, Xavier Kudje, PRO for the Ghana Bar Association.